Now we know that the moon in the beginning of creation was just as powerful as the sun. But what was really happening then was that the moon was a crystal-like, a diamond-like, transparent, translucent planet, and it was reflecting all of the original sun's light so that it appeared just as bright as the sun. So now the light that we get from the sun is not the original internal essential light of the sun. That would be too bright to look at. The light that we get is just a ray that comes forth from the sun as it passes through an outer shield that surrounds the sun. That light is what we're able to look at. Now the sun transfers its original essential light to the moon, and the moon was giving over the same way the sun would give over just the rays. Through a shield, the moon would do the same exact thing, where we would have the rays coming forth from the moon. That was the way God originally created the moon. But the moon understood that this would not last too long. The moon had a friendship with the sun. It had a closeness where it understood, it appreciated that everything it was getting, that God gave it, was through the sun. So the moon, in order to stay in this close friendship, decided that it cannot copy the same exact service that the sun was doing. The sun gives forth rays, and the moon is doing the same thing at night, giving forth those same rays of the sun. The example given is like two kings using the same crown to rule the same country, each one alternating 1 year after another, where one king is ruler for 1 year and the other king is ruler for the other year. So the moon understood that there would be some sort of jealousy that would come about, and the sun would break its friendship that it had with the moon. So the moon asked God that it wanted to do a different sort of service to shine forth to the world. The moon said, since I receive also the essential light of the sun, the inner, more powerful light of the sun, I want to be able to give that light over to the world. But since I know that it's too powerful for people to look at, to stare at, I'll give it over in the form of energy, of knowledge, of understanding, what we call das, so that people will be able to appreciate and understand the divine in a very intense way, the way the sun has it and the way the sun passes it over to the moon. The moon wanted to transfer that to everyone down here on earth, and to that God responded, this you can't do. This is for the time when Mashiach will come, that people will be able to understand the divine in such an intense way. We know that when God created the world, he took his light, the secrets of the Torah, and he buried them, he hid them inside of the Torah until Mashiach comes. So God told the moon, I can't do this. You can't shine forth the original light that the sun gives you in a way of knowledge. Just goes to show how smart the sun and the moon really are. We don't attribute that to the sun and the moon, but they're getting tremendous amount of depth of knowledge and godliness. So God came up with a different idea for how the moon could do a slightly different service than what the sun is doing, and not just shine the same rays. God made that the moon should no longer be transparent, no longer be translucent, and it should turn into plain dark rock. So it took on a completely different color, and it no longer shows the original light in the way that the sun does it with rays. At this point, it's showing a much more decreased light, the way we see light reflecting off the moon today. And the comparison that's given is the way you would have light coming through a window versus the way you would have light bouncing off of the glass pane of the window. The light that reflects off that window back towards the sun is very diluted to the point where we say it's a completely new light. what you have here is a new creation versus what existed before, and it's not similar at all to the original light. All you have is the way the glass pane has reflective capabilities. That's the kind of light that you see bouncing off the glass. But in no way is that light as great as the light that would come into the room from the sun that you would originally have, compared to the original light that the moon originally gave us from beginning of creation. And God said that inside of that light, he told the moon, I'll put a little bit of the inner core of light from the sun, this that you wanted to give the world. We'll put a little tiny fraction of it inside, and you'll be able to give that to the world as a preparation, as a vessel, so that when Mashiach comes, we'll be able to receive this greater light, this inner core, that to understand the divine in an unbelievable way.